Welcome you all to Math Bridges Fun with Math. Math story is always a powerful tool that helps the children to explore math. And literature connects maths to real life, which gives meaning to why maths is important. Literature always brings more complex mode of communication, which presents mathematical concepts in words rather than in numbers. That's why children love reading, and through reading, they learn math. Let's see how it happens with a story. Have come up with an interesting math story, Sir Cumference and the First Round Table. It's a math adventurous story based on geometry, which is explained with humor, making it fun and accessible for beginners. Before going into the story, I'll explain the gist of the story. The story follows like this. Sir Cumference, in his attempt to design a better shaped table for the king Arthur and his knights to sit around to discuss important meetings. The name itself says, you can see, the first round table. So how Sir Cumference he designs a round table. Let's get into the story now. The teacher can read the story and she can narrate it, or else ask the students to read the story. We'll start. Long ago, in a land known as Camelot, there lived many knights and ladies. Their ruler was a mighty but gracious man named King Arthur. During many years of peace and good harvest, the people lived happily. The trouble began when the army of their neighbors to the north began gathering at the border. These people, known as the circumscribers, might be preparing to make war. King Arthur called upon his bravest and most trusted knights to plan what to do. Knights means, in the olden days, a soldier who had a high social rank used to call to be as sir. They are known as knights. The knights rode as fast as they could to Arthur castle. Sir Cumference lived nearby, so his family came with him. Sir Cumference was married to a lady Di who came from the town of Ameter. They had one son named Radius. Radius was very small and quite young, but what he lacked in height and age, he more than made up with his keen mind and boundless energy. So here we got few characters like King Arthur, Sir Cumference, Sir in the sense knights. We used to call them as Sir. And Sir Cumference's wife name is Di, who lived in a town called Ameter, and they are having a son named Radius. So you teacher can recall what are the characters they came across in the story. After the first day of meetings with all the king's knights, Sir Cumference sat with Lady Di. Oh, he groaned, my throat hurts. I have to shout to be heard at the other end of that long rectangular table. Everyone has to. The king is very upset. Why don't you fix the table? Suggested Lady Di. So they were talking to each other, Lady Di and Sir Cumference, that we have to fix the table in such a manner that everybody, whoever are sitting on the table, it should be audible. So now they are discussing. How can we do that? Sir Cumference asked. Well, said Lady Di, you could cut it in half. Look, here is a drawing of a table. It has two long sides and two short sides. If you cut it in half and put the two halves side by side, you will have a table with four equal sides. You can see here rectangular part, make it into two equal halves. It's shown in yellow color and red color. So just the second piece, if you keep it just below this one, it will form an equal sides table. That is, it will form a square. Here, the students can visualize how a rectangle can be made into a square, how it can be done. Now let's see what will happen after this. Lady Di, what a good idea. Sir Cumference called for the carpenter Geo of Metri. Geo began work immediately. The next day, the new table was ready. Everyone commented on the wonderful square shape. However, another problem arose. They prepared a wonderful square shaped table now, but still they are finding some problem with that one. Here you can find a new character. His name is Geo. He's a carpenter and he is from a place called Metri. Again, Sir Cumference, he started rethinking of redesigning the table. So Lady Di thought a moment and then said, what if we cut this square table diagonally? You can see here diagonally the table has been cut. We will put the two halves together like this to make a sort of diamond shape, means which is in the shape of a parallelogram. So the table is ready. You can see here the king is sitting at the corner of this table. He is very unhappy. He is thinking this sharp point is pointing towards him. So he is very unhappy that he don't want this kind of table. So rectangle table, square table, parallelogram table also it's done. So he is very angry. By the next day, by tomorrow, the table, a good table should be ready. The king ordered Sir Cumference. Sir Cumference was very unhappy and he was thinking that the king was so upset that the diamond shape, parallelogram shape, that point, it is pointing like a sword of an enemy to him. So he started thinking, looking at here nearby. So he observed some of the flags and he thought he will design a triangle table now. Sir Cumference called Geo and explained. Geo said, if we cut the parallelogram table in half, that would leave two triangles. One triangle might be too small. So they measured the proposed triangular table and realized that four people could not fit on each side. Geo, let's think some more, said Circumference, and he went to discuss shapes with Lady Di. You can see here the table. Using a rope, they are making into two equal triangles, but they were unable to do that one. They started thinking, and again they approached Lady Di. Yes, said Lady Di, the triangle would be too small, so cut off all the corners like this and make an octagon. Look, it will solve the problem. You can see here the parallelogram shaped completely this is. They have cut it like this. Two triangles, red color triangles over here. Again, if we cut here in this shape, you get two pieces. So when we fix it to this yellow color shape, we will get an octagon with 8 sides. See the brilliant idea of what Di has given. So now they are planning to design an octagonal table. Did the octagonal table solve the problem? See what the funny thing had happened now. When the knights sat at the octagon table, each one wanted his side all to himself. 8 sides and 12 knights. Who would have to share a side with another? They agreed that the king should have a side all to himself because he was their leader. But that left 7 sides and 11 people. You observe only 8 sides are there, but there are 12 people. As a leader, the king occupied this place. So how the remaining people will be sitting, remaining knights? So again there is a problem. So how they are going to solve this one? Sir Cumference, with the help of carpenter Geo, he thought of making an oval table, which is a little difficult one to build because it has no straight edges. So they made an oval table, but still there was a great commotion from the ends of the table. Commotion in the sense, a state of confused and noisy disturbance between the people. So they thought this oval table also, most of the knights, they did not like this idea. The knights at the end of the oval table bumped into the king as they raised their goblets. No one had enough rooms. Some of the knights began to argue. Then King Arthur shouted, "Stop! All leave me until tomorrow except for Sir Cumference." See a goblet. Goblet means it's a type of cup without handle, usually with a long stem. You can see here in the hands of these people, these cups are known as goblets. So again, all the people, they were very unhappy with this oval shape also. And Sir Cumference is also very much discouraged. And he went home. So his son Radius, he told, when I have a problem and I cannot solve, I do something else for a while. Why don't we go for a ride? So he asked, we will go for a ride. So that afternoon, Circumference, Radius and Lady Di went riding. No one said much until Radius shouted, "Father, look, a tree has fallen over." So it has. Observe the knight. You can see a big tree, it had fallen when they were going on a ride. Looking at the fallen tree, son Radius started saying, "Don't you see, father? There's your table." Lady Di got off her horse for a closer look. She stood on her tiptoes and stretched her arm up as high as it could go. Her fingertips just met the upper edge of the trunk. "It should be big enough," she said. "This part is as tall as I can reach, and the wood seems to be of good quality." Sir Cumference summoned Geo to cut the cross section of the trunk to make into a tabletop. This piece. You can see here, stretching her hand from the toes completely exactly. So die, she's standing there and she's measuring that. So they made the circular table. You can see all the knights, all the 12 knights and the king, they were sitting. Everyone had an equal position around the table. As they talked, they decided the best plan was to try to make peace with their neighbors. King Arthur was so pleased that he announced they would celebrate that night. Everyone was enjoying the music, dancing, and banquet. When a messenger delivered a sealed parchment to King Arthur, the king read it and smiled. "Ladies, knights, and guests, I have excellent news. The circumscribers are not planning an attack. They want only to measure the area of their kingdom. There will be peace in the land." Here, parchment means it's a skin of goat or sheep which is prepared as for the writing material on which messages can be sent. Hooray! Everyone cheered till the king held up his hand for silence. To honor these knights who gathered at this table in the interest of saving our kingdom, let us henceforth be known as the Knights of the Round Table. Let us thank Sir Cumference and Lady Di and their son Radius. They made this round table possible. Everyone cheered again. See the designing of the table, and the table is known as Knights of the Round Table. And everyone congratulated and thanked Sir Cumference, Lady Di and son Radius. Furthermore, because Lady Di of Ameter has a reach that is equal to the distance across the table, you can see here from the tip here to the bottom, we will call it as diameter. Lady Di, as she is from a place called Ameter, that's why it is called to be as the diameter. I'm coming to son Radius. I'm proud of Radius too, added King Arthur. Someday he will become a fine knight. He may be small, but he has tall ideas. Everyone nodded and clapped. Let us call this small measurement from the center of the circle to its edge of the radius. So from the center of that circle to the edge of the circle, it's known as radius. So they named it on the name called the sun radius. That's why it's known as radius. Interesting, right? Finally, let us not forget our clever Sir Cumference, since it was his idea to leave the bark on the outside edge of a table. We will name the outside edge of any circle after him. Let us call it as circumference. It is SI as circumference. His name is Cumference, but circumference. So we are calling the outer edge, the outer portion, outside edge of a table to be as circumference. Sir Cumference bowed to the king as everyone rose from their seats and began cheering and whistling and stomping their feet. It was the happiest celebration that anyone could remember. Hope you all love the story. It's a good storybook to introduce the concept of 2D shapes and their properties also. And also it increases your vocabulary. You can see many terminology like commotion, goblet, parchment. Many terms are there where you can know the new meanings, and you can find the grammar also, and your reading skills also will be improved. Hope you all love the story. From this math story, Sir Cumference, the first round table, children learn lot of things. They learn English vocabulary, many new terms, new terminology, and also mathematical terms like radius, circumference, center, and diameter, and they reconnect, visualize and reconnect themselves with the character and recall what the exact meaning of the mathematical terms. They learn the properties of 2D shapes and how a new shape can be created from one shape. They develop reading skills. Not only that, they can comprehend reading passages with comprehension questions. Here below in the description box I have given a link quiz based on this story. If you really have followed my video, you can answer the questions and see. In the same pattern, you can prepare some questionnaire for your students also. Hope this video will be helpful to you all. Thank you for watching.